When I lay out my meals, I always start with my fats first. And the reason that I start with my fats first is because fat is a macronutrient that oftentimes will also have carbohydrates and protein in it. Some examples of that are going to be nuts or eggs. So when I start with my fats, I can then carry over the macronutrients into the carbohydrate and protein area. Carbohydrates will oftentimes have some protein in it as well. And when we work with lean meats, we don't have many carbohydrates or fats in it. You're probably gonna have no carbohydrates in your meats and very little fat, maybe 3 grams of fat. If I started with my protein, by the time I got through my carbs and fats, I would be so overboard with my protein. So I always start with my fats because they carry over into the carbs, and then I go into my protein with whatever protein is left by the end of the meal. So to lay out my meals, I'm gonna start with my fats. So here I have my eggs. So my eggs are actually my fat source. Right there, that's protein. So I know that that has about 10 grams of fat. That's also going to have my protein in it. So I started with my eggs, and then I went to my carbohydrates, which also have protein in them, my Kodiak cake mix. And putting that all together brought me to 27 grams of protein. If I would have started with my eggs, and I would have said, okay, I need 27 grams of protein from eggs, by the time I got to my fats, I would have been at 20 grams of fat. So that's why we just start with our fats first. The next thing that I did is I did a snack. I did a whole fat cottage cheese, so once again, that's my fats. That was about 10 grams of fat. Then I went to my carbohydrates. They were berries. Berries here just have carbs. And then what's left, okay, I need 27 grams of protein. That's about 1 cup of cottage cheese, which equals my fats. The next meal, I went to Chipotle. So Chipotle, I actually had to go onto their website. I looked it up. I saw what I could have that would equal my protein, carbs, and fats. And I did it that way. Chipotle's chicken, actually, the way they cook it has a little bit more fat in it, so I knew that I could have what they call a Chipotle salad bowl. It's really just Chipotle with rice and then their lettuce. For dinner, I'm doing a half of an avocado for my fats. I'm going to do a cup of rice and 2 cups of spinach for my carbohydrates, so I can get even more fiber in. And then, because neither one of these have protein, I have 27 grams of protein left. And rule of thumb is that 1 ounce of protein equals 1 ounce of meat equals 6 grams of protein. So I know right there that I need about 4 ounces of chicken breast. The rice may have like 1 gram of protein. That's going to carry over. Spinach has a little bit. So there we go. That's 27 grams of protein. For my final snack, which is I usually eat about at least an hour before I go to bed at night, I'm going to start with my almonds. Almonds and nuts are a great example of this because they have protein, carbs, and fat, right? So my almonds are going to have I'm going to look at my MyFitnessPal to make sure I'm correct with it. My almonds are going to have 15 grams of fat, but they're also going to have 5 carbohydrates, and they're going to have 6 grams of protein. So my almonds are going to have 15 grams of fat, 5 carbohydrates, and 6 grams of protein. So I know that those 6 grams of protein can be taken from the Greek yogurt. I'm going to do 1 cup plus the protein that's going to come over from those almonds. The apples are just going to be the carbohydrates, but they are going to carry over the carbohydrates from the almonds. So you put that in MyFitnessPal, and that's how you figure out the portions of that. And when I came to the end of the day, I ended up having 138 grams of protein, 166 carbohydrates, and 61 grams of fat. So I'm pretty close. I'm under by about 53 calories. My fiber was 35 grams, which is great. Women should have 25 grams of fiber, and men should have a minimum of 38 grams of fiber. If I wanted to make my calories up to 1,800, which I always do want to hit my calories, it's important to eat the amount of food that you're supposed to eat. You don't want to undereat. I can look at this and say, okay, I needed about, was that about 14 more carbohydrates? Where can I put in another 14 carbs? Well, I want to put that in, because everything else is so close, I'm going to put that into a food that's just carbohydrates. So that's probably going to be a little bit more berries, or maybe a little bit more apple, a little bit more rice.